Thanks a lot.
All right, 30 seconds.
Thank you very much, Jordan.
You're welcome.
Michael, when I'm going to break, you'll see a 2 like that. That's when we have to stop copy. Okay. And I have to do a preface. We'll roll it along. Don't worry.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Fasten your seatbelt. Welcome to the Wild Wild West.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're glad you're here.
Ervin.
All right,
It's
come
your
up to
show, Mike.
showtime. Send you that feed. Have a great show.
Thanks, Jordan.
Welcome to Business Buzz with your host, Frank Hellring. Do you own a small business, or does that small business own you? Are you seeking increased sales, more loyal customers, lower operation costs, and brand loyalty? If you're interested in elevating your brand and expanding your reach, then Business Buzz will put it all together for you with expert guests, resources that make sense, and your opportunity to be heard. Get ready to call in with your questions and comments at 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. Business Buzz is out to put the buzz back into your business. Here's your host, Frank Hellring.
Hey, can you hear the buzz? Welcome wherever you may be. You have found Business Buzz. I'm your host, Frank Hellring, and we're coming to you live, prime time, on the Voice America Business Network channel. And joining me today is my hostess with the mostest, Ninan DeVita-Rosa, the neon of neons from the city of Las Vegas. How you doing, Ninan?
I am doing absolutely great. I love Wednesday mornings when we make this recording. I get all excited. I get my hair washed. I get myself organized. But today it's rather hot. It starts out as early morning at 113.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's hot all across the country, right? I mean, I remember when I was a kid growing up in Washington, D.C., 99 and 99. Whew! I can't even believe it. You know, you just wondered whether you needed a shower at noon, you know.
I know, so 6 times a day you're taking a shower.
It was absolutely amazing. Anywho, we've got an amazing show today, Ninan, don't we?
Yes, we do.
I'm so excited about this one. I'll tell you what, we've been working on this really for a couple of months. I found this guest, believe it or not, just going through the NFIB.com, which, as you know, I used to be with back in the early 2000s, and up pops this incredible guy who just spoke before Congress. Does it get any better than that?
It doesn't. It's amazing. This is just what we need. We need exactly coming from the gut.
Well, I'm so excited about that, and it's going to lead us right into our PSA, public service announcement. Listen, if you are a veteran out there today and you hear my voice, or you know a veteran and you hear my voice, or you just simply care about veterans, and you dang well should, because men and women pick up a weapon, go to a far-flung battlefield, fight for your freedoms and mine, and defend the downtrodden and the oppressed. Well, let me tell you something. In 2022, Ninan wasn't with me, but I did a show with Whistleblowers of America. You see them all over C-SPAN, all over CNN and other major networks alongside of major politicians. And Jackie Garrick started that organization to support whistleblowers all across the country. Well, I had the privilege and honor of interviewing her at a live event in Pensacola, Florida, and I ran across Bruce Sackman. Bruce Sackman is former Inspector General's Office, Veterans Affairs, and basically he took care of all of the very questionable things that could happen in the VA. And in 2015, he surfaced that veterans were being murdered in their beds. Yeah, you got it. VA hospitals, your tax dollars at work, and doctors, nurses, support staff were literally taking your warriors out of this world on their backs at a most time in their lives when they are trusting, vulnerable, and expectant that they're going to walk out of their heels. So let me tell you something. Go to veteran, VETERAN, murders, MURDERS.com. That's a landing page that we created. The show playback is there. There's all kinds of buttons. If you've got a loved one flat in the back in a VA hospital right now, there's all kinds of buttons there that take you directly to the VA for suspicious activity. I've got my comments there, and we've got the book, Behind the Murder Curtain by Bruce Sackman, on Amazon. Listen, let's get this word out. Let's stop the killing. This is ridiculous. Well, we have joining us today what I consider to be an icon guest. We're joined by Michael Ervin. Michael Ervin is a small business owner and entrepreneur from West Virginia. He and his wife, Rachel, founded and operate Coal River Coffee Company. He's the CEO of Ervin Enterprises, LLC, and director of Life Care Strategies, a life and business coach organization. Michael is known for his advocacy on behalf of small businesses, having testified before the U.S. House Committee on Ways and Means on the importance of the 20% business deduction for small businesses. He has written for prominent publications like Washington Times, the Charlotte Gazette, and regularly contributes to discussions on economic development and entrepreneurship in West Virginia. Michael is also an active voice on LinkedIn and all social media platforms, addressing issues like federal reporting requirements for small businesses and the benefits of doing business in his home state. Michael, Ervin, Ninan, and I welcome you to Business Buzz.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We are so thrilled to have you here. Listen, you know, it's almost like old home week. I was born in Washington, D.C., raised. My dad was USDA federal government for 33 years. I'm a government brat, right? So I'm back there from your neck of the woods.
Hang on a second, Frank. I didn't know you were a government brat.
I'm a government brat.
Oh my goodness, I would have treated you totally different.
You can't live in Arlington and not be a government brat. Are you kidding me? Anyway, Michael, you hail from the state of West Virginia. You're a small business owner. You've gone through the pandemic, right? You've gone through some pretty challenges in your life. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, where you got your inspiration for starting Coal River Coffee, and we'll start right there.
Perfect. So I grew up in West Virginia and thought I would never live here for my life. I traveled the world, lived in bigger cities throughout the world, and found my wife. She's also from West Virginia, and she was doing college here. So, you know, I was like, well, maybe I should get a job there and pursue this woman. She's amazing. And I was one of those guys that was like, you know, someone's got to do something to this state. Someone's got to start something that changes its culture, change and highlights its beauty, that can revive Main Street.
How old were you when you started, Michael? How old were you when you started this business?
I was 33, 34-ish when I started the business. And I started, it was really a hobby that I picked up during my college years. I was roasting coffee, began learning how to do that in the jungles of in Africa, and just brought it back to the States with me, kept doing it, and bought little roasters, and people are like, this is amazing coffee. And I'm like, I know, I love it. That's why I do it. And just kind of morphed into something where we were looking at doing more of a corporate business, doing a franchise, and none of those things really seemed to fit what we needed, and didn't really seem to fit the vision that we had, which was roasting coffee, brewing community. And so my uncle, after several of my family members passed away, my wife's family members passed away to addictions, we were like, he was like, what if you stayed here? What would it take for you to stay here? And I'm like, well, I need a job, number one here. And he's like, what would it take for you to create one? Because I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. He's an entrepreneur. And I was like, well, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. And so, long story short, my grandfather got a man started in business. And that man came to me and said, hey, I have a building on Main Street in St. Albans, exactly what you're looking for. And I want to get you started in business because of the seeds that your grandfather sowed in my life. And I was like,
wonderful. That's amazing that you got family to help you. What year was that? Was this before the pandemic, or when was all this started?
2018.
Oh, so you were way ahead of the pandemic. You didn't even realize anything would be coming up. So negative your way.
Exactly. Yeah, we had no idea to prepare for things like that. People always say throw a nest egg away, squirrel away money for problems. And thankfully, we did not start our business with any debt. We did a Kickstarter program. I had invested personal money, and so we built it based on cash and what we could do. I built it as a one-man show in the beginning, and it quickly just took off, and I had to hire staff. I'm trying to roast the coffee, sell it as in retail form, and also create all these drinks. So eventually, my wife had to quit her teaching job so she could come on and help me manage this animal that just kind of came upon us.
You also didn't launch that company on Main Street, Washington, D.C., Constitution Avenue, right? You
That's
launched
right.
it. You launched it in a pretty economically challenged area, did you not, Mike?
It was very economically challenged, and it still has its challenges to this day. But there was people were coming to me saying, "Why are you putting that there? It's not going to survive. You're throwing your money away. You're wasting your time." And I would just tell them, "You have no idea what we are doing. We are starting a revitalization, an economic revitalization movement in Main Street in West Virginia, and I want to show and prove people that this can be done all throughout small towns in America. And you don't have to have the big chains come in and do it. It's going to take the community. We're going to have to rally people around." And that's exactly what has happened. Other entrepreneurs have started their own small businesses or purchased existing businesses on the street and have taken over them and revitalized the insides, the menus, things like that. And so what we're seeing is it's kind of not really, I wouldn't call it a phenomenon, but it's people taking into their own hands the responsibility of reviving their hometown.
How many coal miners you got showing up for that cup of Java every morning?
Oh man, I can't keep count. We really do. They'll come in with coal on their face, on their hands, and I love it. Usually it's in the morning because they just got off shift, and so.
Do you have just the one store? You have the one store, or are you going to franchise this?
We expanded, but everything is still owned and operated by my wife and I. So it's not technically franchises. And then we developed a program where people can that want to start a coffee shop can own and operate their own, but we are their coffee supplier, we're their trainer, we're basically everything for them. And so they have their own thing. So it's almost like having a license of Coal River Coffee, but it's their store. And
let me ask you another question, and I keep interrupting you because I got all these questions. We went through this thing about the small. We do the program of small businesses and how we can help other people out there of how they can create a small business. So you already had your business going, and then you went into this dilemma of we all went through with the vaccine and all this crazy stuff that we went through. How did you survive, and how can you tell our audience that not to give up and and keep that tenacity going?
Great. Well, obviously I had a family to think about. And, at this point, my wife she took some substitute teaching, a teaching role. She taught virtually and helped me make all the drinks in the shop. And we ran them out to people outside when no one could come in. So we worked around it in a way. We just had to be strategic. We had to be creative and think through it. Now, we did eventually qualify for some amount of the PPP loan so we could pay our employees. We took no paychecks. And, I'm a big fan of prepper books and things like that. So I had already prepped, some things where we had, what we needed during that time. And as a family, we had some money set aside, but man, that went quick. And it was a scary time, but we had to just really make things lean. And then once we were able to open things back up, we did. You were
ready. You were prepared. You were ready, and you had it all going. Well, now we're twisting up to we're 2024 now, and now we've got a lot of small businesses, and a lot of people are afraid to go into them, or they don't have the financial status, or they don't. Should they just go for it and take that risk and do it and just work twice as hard and have your own business, small business?
Well, in a way, I don't know anybody that has a small business like what I have that doesn't require a lot of work, especially the first couple of years. You have to be willing to sacrifice so many things to get it off the ground. But keeping that, that vision in mind that, if you have the drive to be successful and to see that vision come to fruition, you can do it. And I've seen many people do it already, and which, this business has launched other businesses that we have now, coaching. That's something that I do. Business coaching, I encourage folks to pursue it as well, pursue their dream as well. And
Michael, you mentioned something, revitalization, which I think is really
yes,
an important word. Actually, you mentioned 3P loans and whatnot. Of course, all that's gone, right? EIDL loans, 3P loans, state relief grants. No more priming the pump. No more getting Uncle Sam money here anymore, okay? And so I came up with the 3 R's, which are recover, because that was the number one thing that we had to do as small businesses, right? We got hit right between the eyes. So we either have to retool or we have to kind of rethink, some things and whatnot. Maybe let some key employees go. We have to cut the fat, whatever the case may be. Then we had to take a look at the word of rejuvenation, right? We've all heard the expression, think inside the box. Jump outside the box. More importantly, look back. We got hit with the pandemic. There ain't no box, okay? We literally have to take a look at things with a totally different attitude and perspective. But last but not least, and here's where it comes in as far as revitalization. The number one thing small businesses are suffering from today, and we got to go to a break here, unfortunately, really quick, and we're going to jump right back into this, is profitability. Okay. I want to begin there with you when we come back from this break, Michael, because right now, about 25% of our small business community has been vaporized. And I'm not talking the nonsense that the politicians talk about. Oh, we have all these small business applications. Yeah, right. Online, I'm talking Main Street USA. Okay. How many of those have you got coming through? More importantly, we have businesses out there not profitable. 40% of the remaining 75 are turning a profit. And you tell me you're going to take something away from us? We're going to be right back after this break. Hey, listen, we're going to take a quick break here. You're listening to Business BuzZ with Frank Hellring and Don DeVere on the Voice America Business Network channel. We are mixing it up with Michael Ervin. What an incredible entrepreneur right in the heart of America, right there at the top of the mountains with a bunch of coal miners and coffee and Java, and dare I say African Java. How cool. But right now we are brought to you by CaliforniaSeniorGuide.com. Listen, if you are a small business out there, you've got a product or service, and you want to get it in front of over at least 1 million eyeballs in California alone, you need to go to CaliforniaSeniorGuide.com today. Maybe not quite so fast because we blew up their website a few weeks ago with all the email requests that were coming through. So now they're revamping their entire technological platform. So maybe you want to hold off a couple of days or, go there now. I haven't looked at it recently. But listen, this magazine's been around since 2016. And guess who's graced the covers? How about Dolly Parton? How about Clint Eastwood? How about Captain Kirk? Can you imagine the social media following of those A-lister stars? And you are between the pages with a product or a service? Listen, go to CaliforniaSeniorGuide.com today. Take a look at an 8th page ad, a quarter page ad, a half page ad, or a full page ad like we have with Voice America, because we are the official talk show host for California Senior Guide magazine. And Voice America also has a full page ad with their health and wellness channel. Hey, it doesn't get any better than that. Listen, get that product and service between the pages of this magazine today. CaliforniaSeniorGuide.com. Do it today. Well, we are mixing it up with Michael Ervin. We got some really earth-shattering news to tell you about where this man's been in his past. And we're going to be right back in 2 and 2 after our advertisers have a chance to take a look at you with more buzz for your business.
All clear. Back in 2.
Outstanding. We got 2 minutes, Mike. What an amazing first half of this show. But now I want to drill down, okay, a little bit. I want to get to that profitability because what you did in Washington, wow. Can you imagine the effect you have on profitability of what you did and what we're dealing with right now?
it's something, man. God, when it comes to, especially when it comes to like the taxation that our legislators are not understanding. Like that's the thing is I had to go there and educate these people on what is happening, because when this law came into effect, half of them weren't even there. That's and right. They're listening to, whoever, to their constituents. Many of them are going to be Democrats. Some of them are moderate Republicans. And, they're saying we need to get rid of anything that has to do with Trump and throw the baby out with the bathwater and not thinking of how this is going to affect Main Street America.
Yeah, because they don't understand that small business is the backbone of America. I think it's an absolute tragedy to put the word small in front of business when we represent 85% of the hiring and 50% of the GNP of this country. I think, where did we come up with that?
They don't want small businesses. They want to do away with the middle class and the small businesses. That's what they're trying to do.
Why do you think they're playing with the minimum wage on fast food restaurants in California? And if you think it's going to stop in that state, think again. It'll go across this country because California sets the pace.
Well, there's certainly a pretty bad pace at the moment. Michael, this new half coming up, what would you like to talk about? I think we want to talk about the ways and means and all that stuff that you're involved in and where the small businesses are going. Can we do that?
I think we need to. I definitely want to hit that. I want to stress that.
Okay.
And then at some point today, I would love to stress this new FinCEN regulation for small businesses.
Sorry,
Okay,
now
yeah.
coming back in
Yeah.
15 seconds.
All right, Mike, we're coming back in 15 seconds. We're going to lead right in with profitability and take you to Washington, okay?
Okay.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
You're listening to Business Buzz with your host, Frank Hellring. To reach the live show, please call 1-866-472-5790. Again, that's 1-866-472-5790. Or send Frank an email at info@businessbuzz.com. That's info@BIZZNESS buzz.com. Now, back to Business Buzz.
Hey, welcome back. I'm your host, Frank Hellring, live on Business Buzz. I'm joined by my incredible hostess with the mostest, Ninan DeVita-Rosa. We're mixing it up with Michael Ervin of an incredible coffee company out in the wonderful state of West Virginia. Michael, we talked a little bit about profitability. We talked about how that's challenged right now in the small business community. You recently took a visit at the behest of the NFIB, which is the National Federation of Independent Businesses, which I happened to work with back in the early 2000s when I was in equity. But they put you in front of a congressional committee talking about a very interesting issue. Let's hear what you have to say.
Absolutely. So an interesting fact is since we started in 2018, I wasn't super aware of how taxation affects business in general. I mean, I knew it from a personal income perspective. And so I wasn't quite aware that in 2017, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was passed. And that was passed really to help, and it helps small businesses be more profitable and reinvest into their business. And so what it does is it allows you to have just a 20% flat tax for your business income. And what that means is we can't go beyond that. And so the idea is that you take that money. Now, this isn't money that I get to just take and go on a cruise and do whatever I want with. This is business income so that I can reinvest it into my community, into my employees, into my business in general. And that looks like raising my employees' salaries. That looks like being able to offer our community better things. That's sponsoring little league teams, things that big corporations just don't do. And so I went to DC to address the fact that they are considering doing away with this regulation. And what that can do is it can cause small businesses, and I know you don't like using that word either, but it'll cause Main Street businesses. I like to use that better. Main Street businesses, LLCs, for their taxes to raise up to close to 46%. And that's combining with the state income tax. And that will do away with our ability to grow. It'll do away with our ability to compete with big businesses or corporate businesses, I should say. It'll do away with and that looks like us not being able to give a competing wage to employees. So I don't know how our government would expect us to keep our doors open in general, because I know that it'll hurt a lot of folks. It'll hurt a lot of businesses on Main Street.
Well,
and so,
Michael, you were walking in some pretty tall cotton with the NFIB putting you in front of Congress. I mean, how did all that come about? Because let me tell you something. There's about 300 and some odd thousand small businesses that belong to NFIB, and all of a sudden they gravitate towards you and say you're the guy. How did that come about?
Well, we're blessed, I guess, in some ways, but I think it has to do with the fact that I'm willing to stand up and be a voice for small businesses and fight for them, and what I've had to learn to be profitable in an economically challenged state and city is that I have to learn about these tax rules, these tax regulations, because I was so busy for years. We almost lost our business. The pandemic really did a number on us. But thankfully we were able to grab some resources and learn what to do. And one of the things that really helped us was this regulation that with taxation. And if that goes away, I've only known our business since this has been in place for us.
Yeah, Michael, this is radio. Okay. So we got listeners out here basically trying to get an image of what you went through, right? Had you ever been to Capitol Hill before? Had you ever been, to the House committee rooms and things like that? Probably not, right? How did you feel when you walked in there, saw that bevy of cameras, saw that incredible, place where you're going to sit? Your name tag is there, right? Probably
Right.
your bottled water, right? And you got
Yep.
all these people that are sitting before you that are about to ask you questions. Number one, obviously you got an opening statement. All witnesses do. But at the
Right.
same point in time, how many questions did you get back from our illustrious legislators? More importantly, what was the subject matter?
So great questions. So now, number one, it takes a lot for me to be afraid of somebody. And because of what I've been through, I'm not really intimidated by someone's position. I might respect it for sure because it contains power. But, I know what it takes for cities to have revitalization, to have economic sustainability, and they don't. These are people that are rich and wealthy, and here I am, this outsider. I'm not political, and for me, I'm free, and that is scary to them, and it freaks them out because I'm not beholden to somebody that is paid for my campaign or is paying me in my back pocket. Big pharma or whoever it is, some conglomeration. I'm there to fight for Main Street America. I'm there to fight for the existence of America and our freedoms, because that's really what it is, economic freedom that we're fighting for.
Do you not have, let me interrupt a second, do you not have enough backing from your governor? Isn't your governor of your state supposed to be helping all of you in this and then he takes it to Washington, and all this stuff? Is that more of the problem because that's kind of the core of it, because that's who you go to first of all, or is that not happening?
I mean, kind of. The way that it really works is you've got your state delegates in your house and your local state, and then you have your local senators that talk to the governor and that do these legislation things. But then you have your federal politicians, your senators and your congresspeople, and those are the ones that are supposed to take your concerns and which mine listen to me, and they're like, we're going to back this bill, the Main Street Tax Act. This is the one I'm trying to get them to pass right now, where it just basically plucks this one element of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and says we need to make it permanent, guys, because we've already made it permanent for corporations. We need to protect our small business. We need to protect our Main Street America. And what I've found is that their voice in some ways has been kind of ineffective. That our elected officials they're not acting on it. They're not pushing.
They're not.
Michael, how much physical airtime did you actually get before these legislators? Also, were you alone or were you part of a panel?
Okay, so I got face-to-face time with 5 different leaders, legislators, senators, for a couple of days. And then I was before all of these people in the Ways and Means Committee for over 4 hours, where they pummeled me with questions. Folks who were against this, they had their questions and they were trying to trip me up in it. And I don't think that they really expected me to respond the ways that I did, where I would just give it back to them and kind of correct and bring us back to the main point of the subject, which is we're talking about Main Street America. And
You know why?
Because
Because you're not fake news. It's just like we don't
That's
allow
right.
fake news on this show. You are truth, facts, and reality because you're living it day in and day out. You're turning the key in the door. You're going back there and you're getting that coffee up and ready. You got your employees coming in. You got all kinds of other things that you're dealing with. I mean, my goodness, you know, crazy stuff that you have to do as a small business. And these people have never lived a day inside of a small business.
as
Okay.
well as survive.
Yeah, they
You've
went to
got
Harvard, they
survive.
went to Yale, they went to Dartmouth, they went to all these Ivy League schools, and now they're senators or now they're congressmen. But the bottom line is they don't know what it is that you're dealing with. Here's the incredible question. When you vacated that room, the media was waiting for you. What kind of response did you get?
Well, I mean, the response was, you know, like, hey, you know, what are you doing this tax deduction? Are you doing, you know, are you wanting to do away with personal income? I mean, all these other questions that have nothing to do with the subject matter that I was there for. And so I would, you know, I would correct it and say, look, we're, you know, the main thing is that small businesses are exposed. That means that the freedoms, the economic freedom of America is dramatically exposed. And I'm not going to get into some, you know, bigger theories about that. But, you know, that was kind of the main question that I would be getting is, you know, why should we protect small business when, you know, you guys, you know, you're making enough money, you know, or they'd be like, you know, how much money do you make? How, you know, what is your salary, Mr. Ervin? You know, we can pull your tax documents and look and see what you're doing. And, you know, I will say I was on a panel, and I think I was the only one on there that doesn't have like $1 million. I'm not a millionaire, you know, I'm not that person. And, you know, I was questioned about that, and I was honest with it.
You know, Michael, I want to stay with this just a little bit. Before you got on the show today, just for fun, I punched in Google, small business tax deduction is soon to be gone. Would you like to know what the result was?
Sure.
Nothing in the top 3. I had to scroll down 3/4 through the page to find something called Kentucky something, right? And the title of that particular link was absolutely amazing. What it said was, oh my goodness, tax changes small business owners should be aware of. What the Sam Hill? I mean, you are getting no media copy as far as what you did on the Hill. And here's there's no ego here, okay? You and I met a couple of months ago, right? And the reason why I met you is because I go to NFIB all the time just to see what's going on, and up
Right.
this pops. And so did your name pop. And that's why I picked up the phone and called you. But how many other people in my realm have called you, Mike, and said, I want you on my show. I want you on my podcast. Hey, how about Hannity? How about Bongino? I hate to typecast something right now, but I'm a little bit upset at what I'm hearing from you and the fact that the media is not supporting you.
I agree. And, you know, that just shows that the media, you know, whether it's fake news or, you know, just something that is, I mean, this isn't fun news to talk about, really. And, you know, they're not getting, it's not, well, I guess part of it is the news is kind of ran by people that are part of the big corporations. And, you know, they don't want these independent voices. They don't want the independent.
They don't want to hear you at all. They don't want to hear what you've got to say at all, because there's no interest to them, because there's no money in it. And the little bit of money that is in it, they're trying to take away. So you close your small business down. So we're trying to do the total opposite now with this, obviously with our program, is to bring the small businesses back again. I mean, they've got to come back. They've got to take this step. So with everything you've been through, and you've been through an awful lot of what I've been listening to, what is the main step right now for somebody who's saying, I want to open up a business. I want to open up my own small business. What would you advise them to do right now as of today?
Okay, so if they want to open a small business, the first thing they need to do is write down what that is, what their idea is.
Not on a napkin at Denny's, right? Go ahead.
Right. You know, type it out, you know, dream it out. And then, you know, if they decide what their product's going to be. And I would go to their state Secretary of State's website and establish my LLC and figure out my name. What's my mission? What's my vision? What's the purpose of my existence as a business entity? And then, you know, obviously it's like, okay, How am I going to bring in money with this product?
Yeah, how are you going to make the profit? How are they going to, they're not going to work for somebody else, they're going to work for themselves, because that's what a small business is. And so how much, I guess what I'm saying is, what is the bottom line for them? If they work out all this stuff, they've got the rent, electric, they've got employment, they've got all these different things you've got to have, whether it's only one employment, doesn't matter, you've got to pay them. What is the bottom line? How do they get to that to make sure they're not going to, I know it takes like 2 to 3 years to establish a business, that I do know, and before you can kind of making a lot of profit.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you have to figure out what your costs of doing the business are. And then you need to be able to get your price point for your product.
Yeah.
And then you got to figure out, how am I going to get that message out in an effective way? What is the best way? And, so for us, if you're wanting to start any kind of service business, like a coffee shop or something like that, there are several things, key factors. One is location. You got to be accessible. People aren't going to, it's not going to be easy, because you have Starbucks down the street, Dunkin' Donuts, Tim Hortons, that all have drive-throughs. And if you don't have a drive-through, you need to have at least 5 parking spaces within 10 to 15 feet of your entrance. So, I mean, those are some practical things that you got to think about.
Michael, I was sitting here thinking to myself, what is your profit margin in your business?
Wow.
So, go ahead.
Well, I mean, are you at 20%? Are you 25%? Where are you at with co-work?
Yeah, so it kind of varies depending on the time of the year. And that's the thing that a lot of small businesses can get into trouble with.
So economically, we're going to take away 20%. We're going to turn around and saddle you with 46%. Excuse me, if you got a profit margin of 20%, that means you're in the hole.
It does.
Well, that's not sustainable, is it?
No, it's not.
All right. Well, we're going to go there after this next break, Mike, because small businesses are dealing with this day in and day out. And we're going to take a quick break here. Again, you're listening to Business Buzz with Ninan DeVere-DeRosa. We're mixing it up with Michael Ervin. What an amazing show that this is. But right now, I want to talk to you about Certainty, CERTAINTY, team, TEAM.com. That just happens to be a company that I own, along with my incredible partner, Patrick Lang, who also has a show on Voice America, Finding Certainty, that airs at 9 a.m. on Fridays. And you need to catch that show as well. And all the partners and whatnot that have been with him for the last 9 years, but I've been relatively a new kid on the block, been with him now over 2 years, but we have developed one heck of a platform of resource for large, medium, and small businesses. Let me talk to you about one of them just right now. When's the last time, small business owner with 10 or more employees, you had a smile on your face when you wrote that check for payroll taxes? Okay, you don't have a smile on your face. The reason why is because they keep regulating it, like Mike has been talking about on the show today, up and up and up. See, your employee has that expense, but you as the employer, you have to match it. Isn't that fun? Okay, well, what if I told you there's a benefit platform out there? If you've got 10 or more employees, you would be able to implement this. They're going to walk away with 15 benefits, including a cash value life insurance plan from Mass Mutual. You don't have any argument with that, I guarantee you. And you, as the small business owner, are going to walk away with 500 FICA redemption on every single employee that is involved in this platform. Want to find out more? Go to Certainty Team, CERTAINTY.com. We've got now over 75 marketers all across the country, border to border, shore to shore, talking to small businesses every day of the week, talking about saving these FICA taxes, and more importantly, putting 15 robust benefits into the hands of your employees that they cannot duplicate any other way. And more importantly, if they leave your service, they don't take it with them. Talk about some handcuffs on employees with the crisis that we've got in this country right now of keeping good people. Listen, go to Certainty, CERTAINTY, team, TEAM.com, and find out what you're missing. Well, we have got an incredible show here. Michael Ervin, Ninan DeVere. We're going to be bringing on our publicist who helped us bring this show together after our advertisers take 2 and 2 to take a look at you with more buzz for your business.
All clear. Back into.
Super, Jordan. All right. Dr. Andre, you have a question. We're going to bring you in on that. That's for sure. What an amazing show this is. Michael, do you have a relationship with your Chamber of Commerce in that neck of the woods?
Yeah. I do.
Great. Okay, because I'm thinking about we're going to do this show again. Okay, and get that chamber on. because that chamber represents your entire business community that surrounds those coffee shops of yours. Okay. Let's see what they have to say. And then I can bring on some other chamber people who are movers and shakers in this country right now, who are very concerned about what's going on with this.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm not going to let this die. You know, this you've almost created a mission here. You agree, Nanan?
Absolutely agree. And we need more people like Michael to actually perform, because when I mentioned the governors, the state, they seem to be there with Washington and not with their state, it seems, there, because they're trying to get voted in next time or whatever the case may be. So they're just on what they want to do rather than taking care of their city, their town, their state. It's just,
Well, how about our governor in California who's in Michigan stumping for a certain president running for re-election, and California's in flames? That's a great governor, you know.
He couldn't care two hoots. He's,
even the Democrats are upset at him. They are livid that he's not at the helm when we've got our state burning again.
Yeah. Well, he's not at the helm of anything. He escapes it all, doesn't he?
Because he's running for president.
COVID-19. Look what he was in the restaurant without masks and the whole bit. He didn't care.
He's running for president.
Who?
Governor Newsom. Are you kidding?
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, Mike, I don't want to make a prediction. I'm not a prophet. I don't have a crystal ball, but somehow I seem to think you and I are going to be going to Washington together. Just roster that one. Okay.
All
right.
Because that's one of my goals, is to get a consortium of truth, facts, and reality in front of these knotheads back there.
Sorry to interrupt. Coming back in 10 seconds.
That they're going to listen. Okay, we're coming back in 10.
PPP, COVID-19, SBA, is there a way? It's time for Business Watch, where your voice matters. Call into the show at 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. Or drop us an email at info@businessbuzz.com. That's info@BIZZNESS buzz.com. We know you've got something to say. Now, here's Frank Hellring, Business Watch, where your voice matters.
Hey, welcome back. I'm your host, Frank Hellring. Now on Business Watch, Ninan and I are inviting you right now to pick up the phone and dial 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790, because our network, Voice America, just opened up the phone lines and you could be on live with us on Business Watch right now. Well, we are now joined by our incredible, fabulous publicist, who basically became a pit bull for us and tracked Michael down and got him on the show today. How you doing, Dr. Andrea Adams Miller? Oops, you're on mute. Unmute.
Where are you?
So, Michael, when it came to, so I'm looking, I actually pulled up your testimony and I have it here in front of me, and, what you submitted and so forth, here in April of 2024. And so my whole thought is, I'm a business owner. I own 3 different businesses and I consult other businesses as well. And first of all, I wasn't clear on how you even knew that this may not continue. And then I wasn't clear about how you ended up being selected, or how you self-selected and got approval to help get yourself into be able to do the testimony. So if you could clarify those 2 things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a member of the NFIB. That was one of the first things that I signed up for as a business owner, because I am so busy that I needed someone to help me understand the legislations that affect me as a business owner. And
I'm going to cut in really quick. So NFIB is National Federation of Independent Business. So that way our listeners know what you're talking about.
.com. Go ahead.
That's right. And so eventually, every year you renew your membership, you fill out different forms. And so one year, felt inclined to say, I'd be willing to speak to Congress. I'd be willing to do whatever to help small businesses, because I'm motivated by the legislation that affects us. And so through that material that I would get from them, I had learned that this was on the chopping block. Essentially, there's an expiration date on the small business tax deduction. And unless Congress acts to make it permanent, it would go away at the end.
Now that you mentioned NFIB.com, I just recently pulled up their website here under their small business optimism. I'm sure you go there from time to time, Michael. And what's interesting is plans to increase employment, flatline. Plans to make capital outlays, flatline. Plans to expect real sales higher, flatline. Expect your credit conditions to improve, flatline. Now a good time to expand, flatline. You tell me, what's the status of small business in America, Michael?
It's pretty sad right now. And part of it's because of a number of things. Inflation is probably our number one problem right now. And regulation, all of that goes back to our government. And so we're fighting against our leaders, essentially, that are making it a hard place for us to operate and be successful.
Yep.
And so for a lot of small businesses, they're having to cut back on their employees. And so business owners are going to have to be willing to work a lot, long, hard hours. And
it's funny you say that, Mike, because when we started this show 4 years ago, we'll be celebrating our 4th year anniversary coming up the 5th of August of 2024. But we started it with this premise. First of all, you got to be an advocate for small business. You want to get on this show, you got to love small business. 2, you've got to have a resource, okay, that small businesses can get advantage of. Or you have to have a specific expertise, okay, that you can impart some wisdom and knowledge into a current small business and help them out at whatever juncture they're at, right, or whatever phase they're going through. Last but not least, and this is the most important, we just recently added it because we're in an inflationary economy. I don't care what these idiots say as far, the number's dropping. Really? Go gas your car. Go to a local market, okay? Hey, how about Staples, which all of a sudden told me the other day they're competing against Amazon for copy paper, for crying out loud. Okay, so listen, we are dealing with an issue right now that, oh my goodness, right? Small businesses are being marginalized, anesthetized, and basically asked to vacate like snagglepuss. Stage left, right? You disagree with that, Michael?
Not at all. I agree with you. It's like they're trying to put small business at a disadvantage right now. And, all of the big corporations, they're the ones that are getting the tax relief, the tax deductions. Heck, they're the ones who got most of the PPP money during COVID. People who don't even have very many employees.
We don't want to talk about American Airlines with 30,000 employees that got how much money out of 3P loans? Are you kidding me? Or we don't want to talk about the black business community out there who didn't even see a dime of hardly any money coming out of 3PP and lost over 40% of their realm. Listen, we are dealing with some very serious issues here. And Michael, I look at you as a champion, man. You are a trumpet, okay, for small businesses. And along those lines, when you got back to your community, were you welcomed as a hero?
Well,
or a vagabond?
More like a vagabond.
I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily either or, but like, thankfully, the local, not the local, but the West Virginia paper, the main one, they published my Washington Times article on small business tax deduction. And, I've heard from a few local news stations who are like, hey, we're interested. And then it's nothing. There's a lot of fear around that. And people not understanding why me, why did Michael get to go to Congress? And, I was starting to answer that question, but part of it is, my wife and I said that there was a national search from the NFIB regarding the tax deduction a couple years ago. And they asked if we would be willing, after a nationwide search, to be on that commercial, to talk about it and how it has benefited our business. And so since it was something I was already passionate about, and had already voiced concern and written letters, they were like, you guys can do this. And so we did. And part of that video went to Washington, D.C. It was all over YouTube, all over Hulu, has had millions of views. People all over the country said they saw it. And that's one reason why Jason Smith was like, we need to get that guy here. And because he saw that video and was like, we want to hear from this dude.
You know,
And
I have great respect for the NFIB. I worked with them in the early 2000s. I was on the basic advisory team with Jeff Koch, who was the vice president of benefits. If you know anything about the NFIB, they were always looking for benefits for small businesses. White labeled, of course, right? And I was on the deal team to basically put the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce together with the NFIB. I'll never forget, we were on the back of the Capitol steps and whatnot, 99 and 99, like I started this show out with, right? And dear old former Senator Barbara Boxer decided not to show up. When you got the CEO of USHTC in that type of weather with God knows how many cameramen and everything else, we all went down to the Capitol Grill and basically got drunk. But that's another story. But the bottom line here is that the NFIB stands for small business. They have taken some hits. I know that we had over, almost 700,000 members when I was working with them. Now I think it's down to around 300,000, right? But the lobbyists are still active on K Street and doing what you're doing, right? Putting that out there as far as in front of the small business community. And we need to support that. We need to go to the NFIB.com. We need to join as members, and we need to make our voice heard. And not just in organizations like that, but other organizations. And believe me, Mike, and let me tell you something, Mike. I'd love to have you and I get behind something like that. What do you think?
let's do it. I'm game. You know, we've got to get the message out. We got to protect small business because no one else is going to do it but us regular people that you know, are willing to fight, that don't care if we're labeled a hero or a vagabond, because we see that, you know, we see what's coming down the pike. You know, we're fighting for the present, but we're also fighting for the future too.
It seems to me that when politicians and politics start getting involved in any business, especially the small business, it seems to be a total disaster. I assume that you can change that by what you're doing and what you have done already, by trying to reach the person that actually is opening up the small business rather than the politicians that are trying to destroy it. So is it better off for them to just sort of march forward and try to do what they're doing, and you protect them with their taxes and everything else and try to help them that way?
I mean, there, in a way, it's like I have to recruit small business owners to kind of be a part of this small business army in a way,
Yes.
and tell them about, hey, you know, I can't do this alone. Just like starting a revitalization in my town, I just put out the message, I can't do this alone. We got to have other people willing to jump in and do this with us and make it successful. And so that's the same thing with this situation, is we've got to come together and do this together.
So the message out and for our show today is for the small business people actually to properly get an association for the small business people in their town and club together and start putting things together, and then they become stronger. Rather than being a one business, they could be 20 businesses, 100, whatever the case may be. That
Ninan, they become a force. Unfortunately, we are headed towards the end of the show. Time flies by when you're having a great time. Michael, put out your contact information out there for our audience, please.
All right. I can be reached at michael@coalrivercoffee.com. I'm also found on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly Twitter. And my handle is pretty easy. It's just look up Michael J. Ervin, or Michael Ervin on Facebook. And I'm verified on almost every one of those platforms.
Outstanding. Dr. Andre Adams-Miller, give your contact information, please.
www.theredcarpetconnection.com, or you can call our office at 419-722-6931, 419-722-6931.
And remember, she's the publicist with 75,000 contacts on her smartphone. I don't know how it doesn't blow up, but anyway. Ninan, give your contact information.
You can
please.
reach me. You can email me at ninan@ninonspeaks.com. You can also see me on YouTube /@NDD Network. See you on my show.
And I'm going to give a plug for the NFIB. If you have not joined NFIB.com, you need to do it today. If you're a small business owner out there and you want to make a difference and you want to find out who's got the pulse of what's going on in Washington, there ain't anybody better than that. So go to NFIB.com today and get with it out there. We need to support the organizations that are supporting you. And here's the evidence in Michael Ervin. They chose basically a no-name in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia to go to Congress and defend you. Hey, wake up. This is happening, and we're not going to stop it unless we come together and become a unified force, and that's for sure. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. You're now an official alumni of Business Buzz. I don't think it's the last time you and I are going to be mixing it up. Dr. Andrea, always, what a fabulous publicist. Ninon, goes without saying, right? Neon of Las Vegas. And thank you, our listening audience, for tuning into Business Buzz today. If you'd like to be a guest or have a business that needs to elevate your brand or expand your reach, you can reach us toll free at 877-3-NOWBUZ, or simply go to the website, Certainty, CERTAINTY, team, TEAM.com. Click on media, take you right to the show. Also show you Finding Certainty, my partner show, which airs live at 9 a.m. on Friday mornings. Matter of fact, Michael, I'm going to talk to him about putting you on his show as well, so we can double down audience. The buzz factor of your business is what we seek to increase week in and week out. Tune in next week as we bring more guests and resources to make your business buzz.
All clear. Great show.
Thank you, Jordan.
No problem.